It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Syracuse University's Professor of Sports Law. How are you doing, John Wolohan?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Thank you.
Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in working in college education in sports?
Yeah, I was going through law school, and when I was looking at what areas I wanted to focus on, I had the opportunity to work with a professor up at the University of Massachusetts, who is the director of the sports management program. He was also an attorney, and so we published a number of pieces together, and I really enjoyed what he was doing, probably more so than the day-to-day legal stuff I was working on while I was in law school. So when the opportunity came in my third year of law school, I was offered a teaching position down at Rice University. I took it, so I haven't looked back.
How was your experience like going to Western New England to study?
It was, it was a fine school. My goal when I went to, I was living in Boston at the time. My goal was basically to move back into my home area and be the local attorney. I wasn't planning on, my goal direction was not sports or legal education. It was really just to be a kind of a local attorney. Um, but as I said, I really enjoyed working with the director at UMass, and I mean, yeah, that's kind of how I ended up here.
What was that experience like getting your master's at Syracuse?
It was just, it was uneventful. How's that? It was just something once again, as a professor here at the university, I received free education. So the classes were free. And so it was something I was curious about. So, and in addition, I wanted to take more of the statistical um, courses. Once again, as a lawyer, we're not really required to do a lot of statistical analysis. And so um, by getting my master's, I was able to take some advanced statistical courses, which is I'm going to be teaching in the analytics, the law area of analytics. And so it was kind of nice to know regressions and what statistics, how it works.
What was your experience like going from studying sociology to getting into sports law?
Um, well, if you look at my background, I was already well established before I got the degree, so it had really nothing to do with my career path.
Of course, what was that experience like going to Rice University to be a professor?
Say that one more time.
What was your experience like going to Rice University to become a professor?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was different, right? I took the bar exam in July, and I ended up going down to Rice pretty much right after the exam. So there wasn't a lot of in between time. Um, so my first year at Rice was basically a learning experience for me too. I taught sports law courses there, but once again, as a lawyer and as most PhDs, you don't spend a lot of time in front of the classroom. You spend a lot of time in the seats listening to professors. So it was, 180 degrees where all of a sudden you're in the front of the class giving the lectures now. So, so Rice was definitely a learning experience for me.
How was that like going to Iona State to become their professor?
At Iowa State, once again, Iowa State was a big university. It was the sports management program there was kind of a different program. It was housed more in the kinesiology area. So the main focus was more exercise science, motor learning, biomechanics, that type of stuff. The students had definitely an interest in sports management, but being in Iowa, there was less opportunities. Students definitely had to travel more. So Rice is down at Houston. Here at Syracuse, we're close to New York. Industry experience. Not so much in Iowa. They'd have to go to Chicago, which is a good ways away, Kansas City or Minneapolis. So they didn't have anything kind of right away.
How was your experience like going to Ithaca College to become their professor?
That was once again just the opportunity for me to come back east. Having grown up in Massachusetts, it was yeah, it really was leaving a big university, going to a small college, um, more about coming back east, closer to family. Ithaca College's sports management program was a great program. They had some amazing, faculty members while I was there, and one of the nice things about their program was we got to work with the students as far as their internship opportunities. And so I was able to create some great connections in New York City, Washington, and Boston. So, which helped, I think, the students get jobs after class.
What was that transition like from you from going from Ithaca College to then coming to Syracuse University to become a
Yeah, it
professor?
wasn't that great of a transition. I mean, I'd already been at a big university before, and I knew I wanted to come back to a university. So I had already had that goal in mind. And Syracuse is only an hour up the road from Ithaca. So I actually didn't even have to move houses when I started. It was, I mean, I lived in Ithaca and drove up to Syracuse to teach the classes. So the transition um, was less, location, and more kind of getting to know the university itself. Once again, Syracuse has a rich history of sports, um, and so kind of getting to know what Syracuse was about, getting to know what their sports management program and their focus of the program um, was all about. Those were probably the biggest transitions.
Coming to Syracuse, what has that been like, obviously being the professor of sports law?
Yeah, Syracuse has been great. I mean, I get to teach at the law school, which is kind of a nice bonus for me. Once again, historically, I've just taught undergraduates and graduate students. Um, and so their legal education has been limited. But when you go to a law school, you get to teach students who are in their second and third year of law. And so they know a lot more about the legal foundations. And so you can get into the topics a little bit more detailed, and you can explore a few more things that you probably couldn't do with some of the undergraduates.
Of course, for those prospective students that are looking to study sports law, what are some of the classes that they need to take?
Um, if you're looking to study sports law, I mean, I tend to tell my students um, at the undergraduate level, if you're going to have to go to law school, and so don't spend a lot of time taking law courses because the law school will teach you everything you need to know. Take courses you enjoy. So if you have an interest in history, take history courses. If you want to learn a second language, take those courses. If you're interested in sociology or marketing or finance or economics, um, spend time taking those courses as opposed to legal theory or legal practice, those types of courses. Because once again, when you get to when you finish, if you want to do anything in sports law, you're going to need a law degree. Um, and so it's your undergrad and then 3 more years of law school.
Of course, for those sports lawyers, what is that like, obviously, getting to take those classes like NIL law and sports doping?
Yeah, well, when you get to law school, it's different in that um, we don't have most schools don't have specific courses on like NIL law. What we'd have is trademark law, we'd have copyright law, we'd have maybe a course on image rights. Um, so we have kind of legal theories that are applied to sports. And so I teach a course called Sports Law down at the law school, where we try to take those legal theories like tort law, contract law, antitrust law, labor law, and we apply those to sports specific areas where the students previously have looked at labor law, looking at the history of labor law and kind of labor, the National Labor Relations Act and how it impacts employees. We look at employees as athletes, professional athletes, or college athletes. And so we're just trying to get the students to view the legal theories in a different way.
Of course, with NIL being so popular nowadays, how have you been able to teach those sports lawyers about the NIL laws?
Yeah, well, I mean, it is kind of a big thing, but the problem is it's still developing. Um, I mean, I think the states are still trying to figure it out. I think the NCAA is still trying to figure out, and lawyers are still trying to figure out. And unfortunately for students, I think a lot of them are probably getting bad advice. And once again, what a sports lawyer should be telling students and people who are interested in trying to monetize their NIL rights is that they really do need to consider what those contracts are saying, what they're giving up in exchange for the benefits that they're being promised. And once again, make sure that everything is in writing, and that they have somebody with a legal background looking at those contracts.
Of course, for those prospective students, what are some of the areas and the fields that they can go into sports law with a sports law degree?
Um, Once again, I mean, here at the undergraduate level, they'll take one or two courses in sports law, um, but they can't really do much until they get into law school. And so, even at the law school, it's generally just a handful of courses that specifically deal with sports. Maybe a amateur sports law course, a professional sports law course, maybe a negotiations class, that type of thing. Um, and so the thing about law school is the main focus of the law school is to prepare you for the bar exam. And so they want to make sure that you pass the bar and you're actually able to become a lawyer. Um, and so a lot of the courses at the law school are going to be geared towards, traditional legal topics, property law, constitutional law, tort law, contract law, civil procedure, those types of things that are going to help you be a better lawyer.
Of course, for those people taking those sports law classes, what are some of the things that they're learning that they can use in the outside world?
Use from the outside world.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, just their basic knowledge of sports and how sports works. I mean, once again, I think one of the things that people, when they look at sports, they come in, they're usually fans. They're fans first. They have a favorite team, they have a favorite player. And what I think sport management does and what sports law does is we try to take some of the fan out of the students and let them kind of look at this as a business. So we're looking at, how do these contracts work? How are, for example, um, media rights. How is the media rights being shared? How is it going to be distributed among teams, among players? Who gets what? Whose image is legally protected when we're looking at sponsorships? As far as marketing, what types of marketing contracts? Ambush marketing. How does that work? Do we have legal rights to try to prevent that type of behavior?
What jobs are out there for people that are studying sports law?
Um, the main job that most students talk about when they think about sports law is becoming an agent, right? So they want to negotiate contracts. We're here in the David Falk School of Sports and Human Dynamics, and David Falk is a perfect example. He was a lawyer, uh, went on to become a famous agent, Michael Jordan's agent, Patrick Ewing's agent, Alonzo Mourning's agent. He represented hundreds of athletes. And so I think most people, when they think of sports law, they think of agents, but it's so much more. Um, um, you can become the commissioner of the league. You work for leagues, you work for teams. There's salary cap, um, you know, experts. So having a legal background allows, at least what I believe it does, it allows you to think analytically and um, look at both sides of the arguments. You're not just looking at it on a kind of a team side or player side. You're looking at it kind of like, okay, what are the potential problems here and how can we fix them?
What are some of the internships that are out there for sports lawyers to take for opportunities?
Yeah, once again, we've got students, former students of mine, or students down at the law school. Got somebody working for Detroit now. We've had somebody working for Miami, Milwaukee. So a lot of legal students, sports law students, tend to, if they want to go into sports, will either look at the professional side or they'll look at the college side. And once again, you talk about name, image, likeness. Colleges are getting more and more involved in that, and they're looking at lawyers to help them with that because those are all contracts that they need to be involved in, as far as the players using the images. So once again, if we had a player from Syracuse who wanted to use the uniform or the big S, they'd have to get Syracuse's permission to do that because that's our copyright. We own that, not the player. And so they can't use that kind of without compensating the university and without our permission. So a lot of students are going into the college area. Once again, also dealing with NCAA compliance, having a legal background dealing with the NCAA is really helpful because it's all legislation.
Of course, as a professor, what is that like getting to see those students go into the collegiate side, but not only the collegiate side, but working for a professional sports team?
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting, right? That's what you want. You want your students to succeed. You want them to get jobs in areas that they're interested in. So yeah, that's what being a professor is all about. Preparing these students for their next stage in life, and if they can get into an area that they really want to work in, um, you did your job.
What are some of your favorite memories when teaching sports law?
Favorite memories. I don't know if I have favorite memories of teaching sports law. I mean, um, I enjoy the classes. I enjoy the interaction with the students. Once again, it's different. My students find the course a little different because, once again, I teach it as a more traditional law class. And so students are being called on a daily basis. They need to have kept with the readings. They need to be able to talk about the cases that we're dealing with. Whereas I think, I don't want to say this all classes, but I think there are some classes where students can um, not have to be as prepared on a day-to-day basis. Whereas in my class, you really do need to be prepared and you need to be able to talk about it. And if you kind of, you know, take some time off and, forget to do some readings for a while, you can get, you can get hurt as far as grades go.
Of course, what are some of the classes that people need to take before thinking about becoming a sports lawyer?
And once again, at the undergraduate level, there's not much, right? You take us, if you want to do a sports management degree, um, sports law is typically part of that academic program, and there could be one or two law courses as part of that. Um, but even at the law school, um, I mean, you're just taking law courses, preparing for the bar. Some of those extra courses will be geared towards sports at particular universities. And I think more and more universities are now kind of having a foundation in sports law, so more than just one course. Um, but once again, for students to prepare, um, you know, they need to get to law school.
What are some of your future plans in being a professor of sports law?
My future plans. Ideally, I'm going to be the commissioner of Major League Baseball. That's my future goal. I'm not sure I'm ever going to get there, but that's my goal. Um, um, Once again, I'm quite happy teaching at the university. I do a lot of, um, I enjoy my work down at the law school. I enjoy working with the undergraduates in the sports management program. I have a lot of opportunities to do outside work. Um, I do work over in China. I do a lot of work over there right now. And so I'm pretty busy, so I'm quite happy.
What advice would you give those prospective college students looking to study sports law?
I mean, if sports law is really what they want to do, the my advice would be, you've got to get the undergraduate degree, and so pick something that you're interested in. And we see a lot of students come in through the sports management area who then would go on to law school. Um, my area was in history, so I was an undergraduate history major. You have a lot of kids coming out of business schools. You have a lot of students coming out of liberal arts programs like myself. So there's no real traditional path to get to law school. And it's once you get into the law school, that's where kind of the career path takes off.
What advice would you give those college students that are studying sports law looking to get a job in sports law, whether it's on the college or professional level?
Um, Go to law school. I mean, once again, it's really difficult. It's like asking somebody to be a doctor without going to medical school. You, if you really want to work in the area of sports law, you need a law degree. And so, unless you pass that bar, and it's not only just getting through the law school, you have to pass a bar. Um, Unless you pass that bar, you can't practice, just like you can't practice medicine without, becoming a doctor first, going to medical school first. And so my main advice is, you know, work hard as an undergraduate, enjoy yourself, and then buckle down because, you've got 3 years of law school that you're going to have to get through.
What advice would you give those people that are looking to become professors in sports education?
Um, Good question. Um, Probably not sports law. And the reason I say that is because we have very few openings for sports lawyers. So, if if you look at a sports management program, there's one professor who might teach sports law, but you'd see a number of professors who may be in the marketing area or here at Syracuse, we have 5 sports economists, we have 4 sports marketers. Um, and so there are a number of faculty members who've come out of those areas as opposed to law, which I'm the only one.
That's,
So if
that's
you're looking at opportunities to teach, those might be better opportunities. That's not to say you can't do it through law, but I think the path is getting harder and harder.
that's great advice. Where can my listeners find the Syracuse Sports Law program at?
I mean, we're housed in the sports management program. And we also are down at the Syracuse College of Law.
Of course, where can my listeners find your contact at?
Once again, I would go to the sports management website and the College of Law as well.
Thank you again, John Wolohan, for your interview and best luck in your future as the professor of sports law.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, John Wolohan, for your interview and best luck in your future.
All right. Bye now.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.